I'm Murli Shankar. I'm a senior solution architect here at AWS. So for today's discussion, I put together an agenda here. We will look at what Amazon Q Developer is all about, and then we will dive into some of the feature on Amazon Q Developer, especially on how build, operate, and transform, how Q Developer can help our development communities to increase productivity. That's our agenda today. That said, I just want to give a quick overview what and where Amazon Q Developer fit in. So here at Amazon, we like to think that these fundamentals of generative AI as a three-layer stack that support our customers' unique use case and needs. So if you look at the bottom layer, the most comprehensive set of tools, infrastructure for customers to quickly and cost effectively build and train large language model and other foundation model to run inferences at scale. This contain our easy to instance type, various GPU option for building and running AI application. And then we also have the ecosystem around it. And if you look at the middle layer, that's what Taylor was talking a little bit earlier on Bedrock, and that's where Amazon Bedrock come in. This is the easiest way customers to build and scale generative AI application with large language model and other foundation model. This layer contained the Amazon Bedrock, launched a couple of months back, and then I'm sure you're all aware of it, what Bedrock can do, but I just want to introduce that here. Then lastly, if you look at the top, that is where Amazon Q come in. And these are the application you can directly consume with a couple of clicks and configure. So what we are making here is we are giving you an out of the box application where you can click and consume, start consuming the application. There is no heavy lifting on configuring. Obviously, there are some configuration we need to do. Then it's readily available for you for your purpose. So when we talk about Amazon Q, it's a number. There's a suite of products that's come under Amazon Q. So I just want to make sure we set the stage before we dive deep into that. Under the umbrella of Amazon Q, you will see that there is something called Amazon Q Business, Amazon Q Developer. So I just thought of clarify that what it is and what function each one provide. So Amazon Q capabilities for developers and IT pros, that's what we are going to focus on today. This is available through Amazon Q Builder Plan that help to write, debug, test, and transform code. That's what you see on the left side of this presentation, such as moving from an old version of Java to new version, or if you are in the greenfield development, you want to write code, functions, and this is generally help the developers' productivity. If you are on the infrastructure side, if you are trying to deploy, then Amazon Q Developer can also help you in writing your CDK function or Terraform, basically your IAC function pipeline and all of that. So it's covering both world, both from the infrastructure standpoint, if you are on the IAC side, or you are an application developer, whether you are writing in Java, Python. Today we support 21 plus languages. All of the modern languages, if you are writing, that is what Amazon Q Developer come and help. Okay? So I just want to call out, when you heard about Q, there are a number of products, but we are going to focus today on the Q Developer productivity. Okay. So that's it. Increasing developer productivity is a prominent theme when talking about generative AI in developer experience. But increasing developer productivity is much more than just getting developer to write code faster. Some of the recent study, we have given the reference here, shows that developers are spending less than 1 hour per day writing code. For example, when you encounter an error in an application, there is a lot of work involved in fixing that error. And you have to analyze that, digest the metrics to understand the issue. Then you need to figure out a solution, write the configuration changes or code changes, deploy that code to fix that problem, whether it's in your sandbox or in your production. This can eat up a lot of times, maybe a couple of hours in some cases, or in some cases, few days first. And we want to flip the question and give the time back to the developers to enable the creativity and innovation. So traditionally, software development cycle need to be improved. If you currently require developers to manually write thousands of lines of code and speak significant time in debugging. This process hampers the productivity as developers get bogged down into the repetitive tasks like configuring infrastructure, refactoring the code, debugging the code, and the cycle is can be really slow. Sometimes it's error prone, and it sometimes stifles the innovation as the developers cannot build and focus on their application at what they envision. To meet today's business demand, the software development process desperately need an overhaul focus on automation and intelligence. And generative AI initially started helping developers in the development stage with coding companion and inline completion. But now there are many more tasks that is being added, and we will cover some of that in the next slide. Okay, so it is just not writing your code, debugging your code. There are more than that to it. That's what we are going to cover next. So a quick recap, what Amazon Q Developer will help you with all of this development task that has been transformative on how builders can work with AWS. The Q is in best class security scanning and remediation that's built in, and it has the highest reported code acceptance rate of any coding assistant that suggests multi-line code with customers. We have many customers that they are seeing a benefit up to 50 to 60% in code suggestion that is accepted. So Amazon Q developers unique generative AI capability help developers far beyond coding. The Q developer is going to help you in writing your documentation, unit testing, and even program upgrades. And also it can closely integrate with your current DevOps pipeline. Okay. So with Q, we are tracking more and we are taking more an end-to-end approach by solving problem across the development cycle, which we have seen in the previous slide. Okay. So where you can find Q, you can find Q all over on AWS. You can find it in AWS console. You don't need to act, if you are a developer, you don't need to go out of your current development environment. That's IDE. That is where developers spend most of their time. You can get Q directly there in your IDE. You can get it in your mobile. You can also find this in AWS documentation. But if you are if you are in a developer, majority of your time will be spent on AWS IDEs or on AWS documentation. Okay. So now let's look into what are some of the features that Q bring onto the table. So let's start building faster on AWS with Q Developer. So let's first focus on the build part of it. So today Q support multiple IDE, Visual Studio Code, IntelliJ, and Eclipse are supported. Eclipse are currently in preview. What you are seeing here in the screen is an Eclipse screenshot. That's why it's called out preview. But Visual Studio or you are using IntelliJ, that's readily available out of the box. You can consume it today. Another major feature for Amazon Q Developer is generation of the code. Whether you are writing in a greenfield application, developing from the patch, or you have an existing code, you can actually point to that repository and actually ask Q to create the documentation. This is also help you not just speed up the code generation. If you have teams is rotating within your team, there are some new members are joining, you can actually use some of these documentation features to train your team, and you can also use this to completely create documentation. Obviously, when you create a document, it will give you an option to accept it, modify it, or reject it. And then you can, if you like to modify it, you can make the suggestion, and then you can finally accept it. So what we have seen, at least in my patch where I support customers, there is a lot of heavy lifting that is now done by Gen AI coding instead of people do the complete coding, the documentation from the scratch. So this is the feature that's widely used and that is generally available today. Another feature is your unit testing and generation. That is now generally available. Once prompted, Q can automatically generate and execute test. Use the entire project as a context when identifying the test cases and generating the test. As saving developers time and effort need to write a comprehensive unit test case. With automated unit test, organization can now maintain high test coverages. Generally, when you manually write it, potentially there are some misses unless you go through a very detailed review. So this ensures that their code works as intended, making the deployment are more reliable. Amazon Q will now ask developers to provide the consent before each compile and execute step, giving them the control they need so that no unintended changes are made. And this let them speed up less time in writing and fixing code and more of building features that were their matters. Okay, for the business point of view or from your code release standpoint point of view. That's it. The next I want to cover is Amazon Q Developer Automated Code Reviews. With automatic code reviews, you can detect vulnerabilities, security issues, and quality issues, and actually list you the categories in high, low, medium, and then you can go through that list and make sure your vulnerabilities are mitigated, suggestions are provided. One thing I've seen in that, especially on the greenfield, and we are developing from the scratch, as you write the code, you are mitigating the vulnerabilities right there. So there is no time for a later. You do not need to spend a lot of time in security scanning, vulnerability scanning, and rewriting the code. That is now you can limit. If we cannot completely avoid it, at least you can limit from your standpoint. I understand many organizations have some third-party tools or your preferred method of code scanning, but we are not trying to replace that, but we are trying to complement it so that your time taken for code scanning, vulnerability mitigation, all of that we are actually reducing the overall time. Okay, and this is also generally available today. So what is important from a admin standpoint or when you manage it, we need to know what and who is doing what. And from that standpoint, we also provide metrics. And for example, you can look at today's developer report time saving across the range tasks. So we provide a dashboard and suggestions and acceptance rate. So you can actually look at your overall environment, the number of users you are leveraging Q, and see how much time you have saved, how much code is accepted, and how much of suggestions are made, and what percentage of it accepted. So we give a full view of what is your productivity or upliftment in the development life cycle or in your application management that you can give from one console. So we are not only providing you the features, there is a metrics that you can track, and this will help you to see how and where you are getting the maximum benefit. Okay. So that said, I'm going to skip one slide here and then go to the next one on operations.
Hey, Murali, we've got about 3 or 4 minutes, so just manage your time appropriately.
Yeah, I have only this slide, and then we are going to jump in directly into the conclusion. Okay. So talking about Amazon In Q, you can get help diagnostic and console errors. And from an operation standpoint, especially when you are deploying the code, this is very, very important. From Q, you can get the console errors, investigate alarms, and troubleshooting with guidance to remediate the issues and events very quickly, instead of navigating through the multiple pages, system metrics, and going through multiple tools. You can get the guidance from Q as in one console. Okay, and Q actually provide you a chat window, so you can generally ask the questions in your chat window. You can also get inline suggestion, but here are some sample prompts I just provided for reference. This is not a complete list, as you can understand, but some of these questions will help you to troubleshoot issues much faster time. The idea is to reduce the downtime and get you to a faster resolution, and that is where Q will help. That's it. We are going to look at the transform. And today we support Java upgrade version 8 or 11. You can upgrade to Java 17. That is an option today available in Amazon Q. So if you're looking for Java upgrade, this is one of Q is definitely one option I would encourage you to look at. A lot of heavy lifting from an upgrade standpoint. We also have couple of upgrades that is coming in. .NET porting is one of them. It is currently in preview. So if you want to port .NET into Linux and .NET Core, that is one of the option that is currently available in preview. And we also have transformation capabilities from VMware. This is especially helpful if you are looking for to exit the VMware. You are wondering how to migrate application, especially the VMware configurations on the network and all of that, then Amazon Q Developer really comes handy to you. The Q Developer, this can also resolve some of the complex problem in VMware transformation, especially that related to the network translation using VMware domain expert agents, a large language model to automate the conversion of the VMware networking tools and configuration into an Amazon native network construct. That's it. We also have a mainframe modernization. I'm going to skip that in time, but if you are interested, please let us know. Or today we have this in preview. We support JCL, COBOL if you are looking to convert and from your legacy system to the modern language, then Amazon Q is your companion on the code generative AI side. That's it. I just want to conclude my presentation here and hand over back to Ron. You can, just to summarize, you can utilize Amazon Q to drive the developer productivity. This go back to the software development lifecycle and helping developers not just with the inline code completion, but also helping to address the tedious and time-consuming tasks like documentation, unit testing, program upgrades, security scanning, etc., and much more. Okay, you can use Amazon Q to see and technical depth and scaling update on the Java, and we have for mainframe VMware transformation. So a lot of transformation task is part of the Q platform today. And finally, we have the full infrastructure provision. Amazon Q is trained to understand and help major infrastructure as code language, including our own CloudFormation, CDK, and Terraform. That's all my presentation today. If any question, let us know. If you have any further question or you need some help on setting up a POC, please let us, me and Ron know. More than happy to come and help you with that. Okay, Ron, I hope I am on time.